What's going on, guys? Murph here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I look at cards when I'm determining in terms of if I should send them out, in terms of the quality of the card, just some simple steps to take when looking at your own personal cards to decide if you want to send these cards out or to determine a simple value for the card, because if a card is wicked off-center, the value is going to be nowhere near what it should be if it was perfectly centered. So like I said, in this one I'm going to be comparing cards side by side, and we're going to be taking a look at what I do, the steps I take to determine what cards are what value and what cards are in a better condition than, say, another one. So let me get the camera in position and let's hop into it. So here we are. We have some simple tools of the trade here that I want to look at. Now I know I have two of the exact same card, but I did that for a specific reason, because just looking at the face value of it, it looks exactly the same, but I'm going to get into that in just a little bit. But simple tools of the trade are a magnifying glass, so you can really scope and zoom in on these cards, a cloth, and some latex gloves. Now these are of course optional, but I do strongly recommend you using these because it'll help you keep your cards in pristine condition, especially when you're using a latex glove, dealing with some of your glossier cards, your prisms, your mosaics, hollows, optics, cards of the like. So that's where latex gloves come into play. And then the cloth here is best used to get off some fingerprints of those hollow cards, or even just get off maybe a little piece of dust, maybe just a piece of lint that happened to jump onto the card. And then obviously the magnifying glass to zoom in on the corners to really determine if the corner is busted, faded, dented, whatever it may be, and also so you can zoom in on the surface of the card as well. So since I'm dealing with two, let me move some of this aside. Since I'm dealing with two base cards, I'm not going to be using the latex glove because, like I said, that's best used for optics, hollows, prisms, mosaics, cards like that. And please excuse the glare as I have it coming in from the shop's light. And let's just dive right into it. So let's take this one right here and let's take it out of the penny sleeve. Put the penny sleeve aside and let's just look at it carefully, right? Like I said, on face value, it looks really good. Doesn't seem, the corners look pretty good. Doesn't seem to be any scratches on the surface. I wish that was a real autograph. Looks like a good card. Check out the back. Looks fairly good. You can kind of see a little something right there. So right off the bat you can say, this isn't a perfect 10. Let's look at the other one. Pop it out of the penny sleeve, put it to the side. Let's look at this one too. Looks good, right? Corners look good all the way around. Maybe something there. I don't think so. Again, wish it was a real autograph. Piece of lint. Let's get it off. Flip to the backside. You always have to take the backside into consideration. Now, if you're a collector and you're just doing this to collect cards, who cares? Because you only care about the front side, right? But if you want to send in cards to PSA, Beckett, SGC, TGA, whoever it may be, you definitely want to consider both sides of the card, because look at this first one right here. We were able to look at this corner. And I'll zoom in here on my phone. You can see that the corner is busted. But if you look at it on the front side, you can see a little bit of it, but nothing too crazy. So side by side, these cards look almost identical to each other, right? Now, like I said, the magnifying glass is optional. You can just use it to zoom in on the surface. And since these cards are just traditional paper base, it's not really difficult to determine if the surface is scratched or not. Maybe the paint, the coloring is faded on it. Maybe there's, a little peel mark right there. But the surface of both of these cards look really good. So for the purposes of this show and tell experiment, whatever you want to call it, we're also going to not use the magnifying glass. Now, for this cloth right here, good for fingerprints to get it off, but we can still just give it a good little once over, get any extra lint off. We already found that there was a piece of lint on one of these, so we can just get all that off. The cloth is best used for cards that are hollow, optic, prisms, mosaics, something that isn't a paper base, but you can still give your cards a good little brush over. Does not hurt. It has to be gentle. You don't want to go too fast. You want to put enough pressure to get any of those fingerprints off. And I think that should do it. Now the tricky thing is here is determining the centering, right? That's probably the number one thing that a lot of collectors, investors, flippers, hobbyist enthusiasts look for is the centering. It can be easy to tell sometimes, and it can also be challenging to see. Now a lot of people will look for the corners because the corners you could probably spot right away sometimes. Every card is different. In these two, they may look exactly the same, but they're completely different cards. Let me show you. So here are these two cards, right? Side by side, they look exactly identical. Casey Mize, Topps rookie cards look exactly identical. Corners we already established, the surface we already wiped off and said looks pretty good. But now we gotta look at the centering. Centering is tough to tell. So with these ones, I'm going to overlap them like this. Try to even it up just as best as I can. Now are these two cards in line with each other? Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit better. Focus. Let's look at this side. I had a tangerine earlier, so my nails are a little on the orange side. I apologize. Glad I'm dealing with paper cards here. But this card, the top card, looks a little off-centered compared to the bottom card. Now let's check top and bottom. So let's stack these cards like this, and you can immediately tell that it's off. Look at that. Let me make sure that it's nice and flush. We don't want no skewed results here. Look at the white border on this first card right here, how thin it is compared to the bottom. Now you could just say, maybe there's a lot of border on the back card. Okay, fair point, but let's go down to the bottom. Look how much white border there is down here compared to this card on the back. So this card right here, this front card, is off-centered. You could see because the thin bottom up top and the thick border on the bottom. And a little tougher to tell left to right because centering on this card left to right is off, yes, and you can see how the thin border is right here and the thicker border is here, but it is not as nearly as bad as it is top to bottom. So for me personally, I'm not sending this card out for grading because is this the one with the corner too? This is the card with the soft corner. This may come back an 8.5 at best. Now, if you're just a collector, I don't think the grade really matters. But me personally, I don't want an 8.5. Now we're looking at this card here. Centering top to bottom looks really good. Centering left to right looks fairly good. Maybe slightly 45-55 thinner on the left side than it is on the right side. But compared to the other one, it is not even close. This one is definitely in much better condition. The corners are all much better. Personally, I could see this card being a 9.5. Now obviously if it's going to PSA, probably a 9. Because they don't do 9.5s. So if I'm going to send one of these two cards out for grading, it would definitely be this one here on the left for the reasons I mentioned. The corner, the centering left and right, and the centering top and bottom, and the centering left to right. I would send this card here on the left out for grading. And if I'm going to be doing that, we obviously must keep our card nice and protected in a penny sleeve and then in a top loader. But that's going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you were able to learn a thing or two of how I, here at Murph's Cardtown Sports Shop, look at cards when I'm trying to determine if I should send a card out for grading, or if I'm just trying to determine the value of the card, because if a card has a giant scratch on it, the value is going to go down. If a card has a soft corner, it's going to go down, and if the card is way off-centered, like one of these Casey Mize cards were, the value is going to go down. So I really hope you were able to take a thing or two away from me kind of showing you a little tools of the trade, some secrets of how I look at my cards or someone bringing in cards when I'm just trying to determine its value. I really hope you learned a lot from this one, and if you did, definitely leave a like down below here on this video. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, or if you haven't considered subscribing already, please do so by hitting that giant red button down there. And definitely leave some comments down below for things you do. Maybe you have tools of the trade that you have, tips, tricks on how you can determine a card's value, or how you can determine if you want to send a card out for grading or not. But that's going to do it for me in this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. But between now and then, you guys know that I love you, and I will always see ya.